Hi, I'm Holly-Ann Martin from Safe for Kids, and I've got online with a friend of mine, Caitriona, who's going to talk to us about cyber safety, but from a different angle. So I'm going to let Caitriona introduce herself. So over to you, Caitriona.
Thank you, Holly-Ann. Yeah, my name's Caitriona and I own a business called CAIT. And basically, I'm very passionate about helping people understand the risks when online. So I help people be more cyber safe is my sort of motto, because there's so many risks these days. And it's from individuals to businesses to large corporates, and every single area has different risks and different levels of risks. So I do things like online courses, online training, workshops, and all those different kinds of ways of educating people on how to stay safer and keep yourself safe from the online criminals.
Beautiful. What I was really keen to talk to you about was, I'm like everybody, I'm spending a lot more time on social media, and I'm coming across friends of mine that are all going on, and things will pop up like, which unicorn are you, or click here to see what dog you are, or there's lots and lots of different things, but I don't think people understand just that they're giving their information away. So are you able to explain that to us?
Yeah, so what we sort of call it in the industry is social engineering. And basically what it is criminals are trying to con you or fool you into giving away your useful and personal information that they can then use later down the track to try and scam you in some way. So I've seen them myself. You see the ones where it's what's your last pet's name and where did you last go on holidays, and it looks like a little bit of fun. And I suppose with a lot of us now in these times spending more time online, we just feel like that maybe we want to connect more with our family and our friends on Facebook and share some of this information to get those connections. But most of these have been generated by, unfortunately, criminals online trying to gather information on you. The other ones that you mentioned, like about what type of unicorn are you, or what type of frog are you, or all these ones that I've seen, again, you have to give your information, or you have to allow them to use your Facebook information. So it's all about gathering as much information as possible so that they can then possibly hack your accounts. So I have a few family members, and unfortunately they succumb to it, and they play these games and give their information. One of them has had their Instagram account hacked, have had their usernames and email addresses and passwords, and they're completely locked out of their Instagram account and can't get back in. I had another one another cousin of mine, had her Netflix account hacked, and it was actually all turned into Spanish, and somebody obviously had been watching Netflix through her account. So then another one was a business owner who is a business coach actually, and her business Facebook page, same thing, got hacked, and she hasn't been able to recover it. And she's had a huge following on Facebook, and she's lost that following, having to start all over again, which is devastating, especially for business owners. And building your social media profile can take a lot of time, and overnight it can just be lost, and unfortunately it's not that easy to get back. So
thank you for saying that, because like I've got 14,000 followers, and to think that I could lose them, I must admit I've been guilty of it in the past, until a cyber friend pointed out, and so I don't do it. But it is a cute thing to do. Like some of the titles I wrote down was how dirty are your thoughts, what percentage and stuff like that. So they're enticing. They look like really good fun.
Yeah.
Or what did you look like 100 years ago, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So they're really, like you say, engaging. But so is it only your information that they can get, or can they get other people in your friends list information?
Not really. It depends on the type of scam, but like they go through your friends list, and they may be able to target some of your friends if you have shared information regarding them. So again, you just have to be cautious what you're putting out online and on social media. At the end of the day, these guys are always after it's a financial gain of some sort that they're trying to establish, and that might be collecting your information to sell on to the dark web, because like things like your credit card details, your Medicare details, your address, they're all worth, you know, a certain amount of dollars or money on the dark web. So when you see large organizations like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these ones that have had data breaches, and this is why the data has been breached, this is what the hackers are after, is to gather this information to sell it on. One of the famous ones was the Marriott Hotel a number of years ago, and they had a data breach, but the data never appeared on the dark web, and they couldn't understand, because that's normally what happens once a data breach occurs. So again, it was one of those instances that was unexplainable why that information was stolen. You know, was it to build up profiles on people, like for instance, you know, maybe CEOs or, you know, decision makers within large organizations? So again, it all depends on what their motive is. So again, like if you have a friend who has a very powerful position in a company, say, you know, chair or CEO or, you know, on a board, you know, they could be using you to gather information on this person that then they can use to infiltrate their network and to a different extreme. So, you know, again, it's all about what their motive is and what they can get. And I suppose it's like every crime, there's different levels, as I say. So you've got your burglar that will go and rob a handbag in the local shopping centre, which I would say is like your online hacker that's just trying to maybe hack individuals. Then you'll have the organised crimes, you know, gangs that are after the larger, more financially rewarding crimes, and that's like the ones that will go after bigger companies. So again, it's about what can they get out of it.
Now, most of us are on Facebook. How much information does Facebook have on us?
Ooh. Yeah, it's pretty scary, to be quite honest, you know. And it's not just Facebook, it's Instagram, it's Snapchat, it's TikTok. All these companies gather information, you know, on us, and we willingly, most of us all give it away, and we don't think about it. You know, they are, you know, gathering this information. When you set up your account, you normally have to give security questions and those kind of things. And some of them gather banking details, some of them don't. So, you know, I always sort of say, you know, unless you're not online, your information is out there, you know, and that's just basically it. You look at the amount of online companies that there is now. Even you do your shopping with Coles or Woolworths, you have to generate an account online, so you have some kind of personal information that's stored in these providers. So yeah, your information's out there. And I suppose it explains why it's really, really crucial and important that you know, have strong passwords and you change your password regularly. You know, not to use the same password for all your accounts is vital, because if, say for instance,
Guilty.
I know so many people do it, but you know, say for instance, like a few years ago, an example I give was, I would use MyFitnessPal to track, you know, my macros and to try and keep myself healthy if I go on an odd diet or whatever. But a few years ago, MyFitnessPal got a data breach, you know, and the password that I used for MyFitnessPal, and I used it in various other places, well, the hackers had that. So, you know, if you use the same password for all your online accounts and one of those online service providers get hacked, then they've got your password. So I generally always say that if you haven't changed your password within the last 6 to 12 months, your password, they've got it. And there's a couple of online websites that you can go to that you can actually put in your email address, and you can see where your passwords have been hacked. And if you haven't changed it since then, yeah, then the password's out there.
How do we find that? Let me share that with people.
Yeah, we can put that in the comments when we put it up, the link to that website. But there's a few of them, but there's one that's particularly good that once you put in your email address, it shows you all the breaches that there's been with your email address, and it's quite alarming. Like I'd done it in a live demo in a workshop I done for a business a number of months ago, and I used one of my really old email addresses that I don't use anymore. And when I put it in, I think there was like 9 different instances where my password that I'd used for that email account had been hacked. One of them was like for a betting shop back in the UK. I used to love putting a bet on the Grand National, and you know, that's once a year I used to do it. And they had the password for that. So it's the same thing. If I had used that password elsewhere, then so that's why it's important, especially in business, that you have separate passwords. And again, I would strongly suggest or strongly advise having a password manager. Even if you are a stay-at-home mom and all you do is use your computer for online shopping, you know, a password manager will help you manage and create strong passwords, and you will only ever have one password there to remember and to keep safe. And I've been using one for a long time now, and to be honest, most of my online accounts, I don't know what the password for them is. I let the computer or the software generate the password, which they deem as being safe and not being able to be cracked. Like for instance, the Australian government had released an article on, you know, different passwords and how easy they were to crack and how long it would take a hacker to crack one. So say for instance the word spaghetti, with just the normal word spaghetti, seconds it takes a hacker to crack that. You introduce say a question mark, an exclamation mark, then it could be like up to a minute, but it's no longer than that for them to crack your password. And then you introduce other, you know, characters and whatnot, and it'll take a bit longer. But they showed that if you use an actual sentence, so say, I don't like pineapple on my pizza, and if you put it in like I space don't, you know, DON''T, those types of passwords can take anything up to a year to crack. So it's worth
gold. This is gold. Thank you. On a side note, we're getting you over once the things go to help us in our business, because don't tell Roger, hopefully he won't watch this. But I am terrible because I have two. I have a medium one and then you can't bust it one. Well, I hope you can't bust it one. You could probably bust it. But yeah, you know, to think that we are so vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we're a small business, but to think that we're vulnerable, and you know, even homes.
Yeah.
You know, people in their homes.
Well, you just don't, you know, as I say, you just don't realize, because I always bring it back to like when you grow up, you know, you're taught to protect your home by locking your door and turning on the alarm, and you know, you're taught to, you know, lock your car when you go to the supermarket and not leave valuables lying out. It's the same thing with cybersecurity. You just need to be taught how to protect yourself and protect, you know, what your possessions and your data and your online I suppose banking. And if you haven't been taught these things, then how do you know? You know, a lot of it was pretty new to me till I started studying it. Like, and I've been in the IT industry for 20 years. And, you know, as the years progressed, you start to see more and more businesses getting hacked. And that's what sort of gave me the idea to really focus on cybersecurity, because you would see the impact that it would have on a business. Say if they had what you call a ransomware, where it locks all their files, holds them to ransom, and you have to recover from a backup or you have to pay the ransom. And I've seen businesses here locally in my community, small businesses, mums and dads who have worked extremely hard to build their business, maybe been offline for a week, you know, and not being able to run their business because their computer systems have been offline because a hacker is trying to get them to pay a ransom. And it used to make me very angry. And I think it was because you know, you could see the hardship that the owners of these businesses were going through, and, you know, how vulnerable they felt, you know, because, you know, somebody's trying to destroy their business basically, you know. Yeah. And if you didn't have a backup, which, you know, some businesses, unfortunately, you know, things happen, backups break, you get busy, you know, there's all various reasons why you don't have a backup. And there was even instances I seen where they had an on-site backup and it had encrypted the on-site backup as well. So if they hadn't got a backup off-site or offline, then you still had to either pay the ransom or start to try and recover your files on a different way. And not always paying the ransom, you know, always worked. It didn't always guarantee that you would get your files back.
Well, and I guess it could be ongoing. They've got it, so maybe they can hit you up every month or so.
Yeah, well, there was a statistic that I seen, I think it was at a conference last year, that if you get hit with, say, ransomware, that they will try it again another 2 times, because they know that you're vulnerable, and they know that you're probably thinking about getting your business back into operation mode, and you probably haven't put security in place to prevent it from happening again quick enough. You'll obviously plan to do it, but I know numerous businesses that got hit maybe twice in 2 weeks for those particular reasons.
Wow. I mean, Roger's all over it, but little Miss, she'll be right here. I'm really lackadaisy with backing up my laptop and things like that. Now, because mostly the people that follow my page are parents, you happen to mention my most least favorite app, TikTok.
Oh.
They had a huge breach, didn't they, and got a big fine for farming children's data.
Yeah.
But it's not just, it's all, I know it's all apps, but are you able to tell us a bit more about that?
Look, I follow it a little bit, but I wouldn't really follow TikTok, a lot. But again, it's like all applications. Where is that data being held? And there's a lot of reports that's in the media that it's been held in China, and there's no real, I think, legislation around what they're doing with that data. And there has been some alarming, reports on what's happening with the data on TikTok. But it's not just TikTok. All, like, Facebook is, again, they're a great platform for social media and keeping us all connected. But again, there's so many reports about who they're sharing our data with, and these kind of things. And I always just say, look, do your investigation. Be aware of, especially if you have kids that's using apps, what is it that they're actually doing on those apps. I'll never forget, I done a workshop, I think it was last year, and it was to a business, and the owner of the business was saying that, he thought he'd done the right thing by putting parental controls on YouTube. And he said one day he was sitting watching the footy, and he happened to have a look to see what his son was doing, and he was on something that he shouldn't have been. And he said to his son, how did you do that? And he's like, oh, if you click on this link, it'll take you here, and then you can go here, so you can bypass the parental controls. So even though you try and put the right measures in place, it's about always making sure that you're keeping an eye and checking on what kids are doing online. There's a lot of nasty stuff online, and you would know more than me. And it's frightening to the extent that parents give their kids access to, and again, they just don't know, who are they chatting to in some of these online features that have chat. I remember, was it last year, they talked about that game Fortnite, and that, people could have open conversations with kids and their parents not know. There was a really good video that I found last year, and I'll share it with you, Holly-Ann, but it was a company in the UK, and they sort of do a lot of investigation into different, what you call IoT devices. So, IoT device is basically a device that connects to the internet. So they had an Alexa, and they had I think it was like some kind of teddy bear that parents could record a message through. But they showed how through the teddy bear they could talk to Alexa and get Alexa to order stuff off the internet. So they were saying, look, they could easily crack that with very little knowledge. So what if hackers could crack that teddy bear and talk to your kids? And it's those kind of things that you need to be aware of. Devices that you bring into your home, if they can connect to the internet, are you changing the default password on them? Are you making sure that your Wi-Fi is strong and secure so that, it can't get hacked? There's all these basic security measures that you need to think about when you talk about the home. Because the home can be a very insecure and risky thing. We all love having our gadgets and our devices that can, I suppose, make life a little bit easier for us. I didn't really like having like an Alexa or a Google Home in my house, but I won one on a competition just before Christmas. And I kept saying, I'm never having one of these devices in my home. But I turned it on one day just to have a play around with it to see what it was like. And it was brilliant. I loved it. But I know myself, I have to be cautious. how I manage that device. Is it, you know, am I keeping it up to date in terms of firmware? You know, am I changing the passwords and making sure that my Wi-Fi is secure? You know, there's a lot of security, you know, basic security things that you need to think about, you know, with your home devices. And the big one, you know, I say this all the time, especially with homes, don't display your Wi-Fi password on your fridge. The amount of homes I go into, I actually seen somewhere, I think it was back in Ireland, we can buy like little notice boards that says Wi-Fi password, and you stick it on the wall. And I just, okay, well, you don't know who's delivering packages to your home. You don't know who's, you know, a tradesman that's coming in. You don't know what their motive is. So, you know, if it doesn't need to be on the wall, don't put it on the wall.
So how safe are those devices? You know, you say Google what is the, you know, the weather today or whatever.
Yeah.
How secure are they?
Look, again, anything that's connected to the internet has vulnerabilities. You know, we all use, you know, computers, you know, and we all use smartphones. You know, all devices have vulnerabilities. And basically that's what the hackers do, is try to find the vulnerabilities within these devices. So like, for instance, your computer, which runs on Windows, Microsoft are continually releasing updates to update security holes in their applications. It's like all software, you know, they always will, the hackers will find a way in. And that's why it's important to make sure that you know, keep them up to date, do the firmware updates. And, you know, if you don't need to use a device, don't, you know, be aware of what the features are, be aware of, you know, have the mics been turned on, and do they need to be turned on, or can they be turned off? And same with cameras on devices, do they need to be on all the time? You know, you just need to be aware of what the features are and what the implications are of those features. And again, it really depends on your mindset and who you are. For some people, they may have the mindset that, well, I have nothing to hide, so listen away. You know, where other people might, you know, have sensitive conversations in their home. You know, they may be in high profile jobs, or, you know, they talk about things that would not necessarily need to be in the public domain. So just be cautious if that's, you know, what the area that you're in. Okay, what devices have you got around you? So again, to me, it's all about awareness and knowing what the risks are. And, you know, you're either feel comfortable with those risks, or, you know, you need to put measures in place to protect yourself.
I mean, you know, not just other people, you know, baddies watching us, children are watching us. And, you know, I've seen a 3-year-old pick up a phone and go, Siri, tell me a joke, or Siri. And, you know, so
yeah,
kids are just so, I didn't grow up with the internet, but kids have. And so, you know, it's all one world for them, and it's so natural for them, but they're watching all the time. One of the things that really concerns me when I'm teaching abuse prevention education in schools, if I'm in a class of grade 3s, at least half the class admit to me of going online when their parents are asleep.
Wow. Why are they not asleep?
Exactly. You know, 9-year-olds are going online.
Yeah.
And so sometimes parents aren't aware of that. So they can set up systems, can't they? That, you know, they shouldn't be able to go on after 9 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah, like you can deploy software. You know, there's loads of different parental control software, or, you know, the router or the firewall that brings the internet into your home. A lot of them will have parental controls where, you know, you can allow internet usage between certain periods of time and those things. The other thing that a lot of the routers or firewalls will have is like setting up guest networks, so that, you know, when visitors come into your home that need to use the internet, that they're on a separate network to yours. So there is definitely loads of different you know, measures that you can put in place to try and protect your children. I know there's so many different great applications out there now that are quite easy to use, and so that you can also then go back and have a look at what your kids are looking at and monitoring what they're doing. And I think, you know, it's important, and you would be a big advocate for this, Holly-Ann, is talking to your kids and just making them aware, you know, of what the risks are when you're using the computer. It's the same when you first let your kids go to the shops on their own. You know, you just don't let them head out through the door without giving them any advice. You know, you tell them what to look out for and what to do if things happen. And it's the same on the internet. You know, you just need to, you know, make them aware of what the risks are and what to do if they come across something that they shouldn't.
And you should mention that I've actually just been working today on producing a cyber agreement with tips for parents, and then to go through the agreement and say, you know, I will not do this. I will, you know, I agree that a cyber agreement is wherever. So if I'm at grandma's house, because funnily enough, when I'm brainstorming with kids where they come across pornography, in every class just about, they say, oh, at the grandparents' house.
Wow.
Because families will have family zone or some sort of maybe, but of course poor old grandma doesn't. And so
well, I never actually thought of that. That's actually and funny, I do like get a lot of people ask me about how to educate, you know, more senior people like grandparents about being safe online, because they have risks and vulnerabilities as well. They haven't grown up with technology and, you know, don't think of the risks that we would have. Before Christmas, my local yoga studio here Yoga Flourish, the lady asked me would I run just an information session for the community, and she brought her elderly father along and some other seniors along, and it was so amazing because they were intrigued, you know, by how to keep themselves safer, you know, and they think of it especially around financial terms and giving their credit card details and banking details for things online, you know, and, you know, they probably are more cautious of the risks than what we are, and especially the younger generation. We just want to do things quickly and fastly, and we live in such a fast-paced world now that we click on things and then afterwards go, oops, shouldn't have clicked on that. And I think we all are. Like, I had a family member last week who bought a item online, and he'd been looking for this item for a while and it wasn't available because of stocking levels or whatever. So he came across this website that was advertising, had stock, and he's like, oh, awesome. What he forgot to check was that a secure website. So, you know, all secure websites should have the lock beside the URL that'll let you know that they're a secure website. And he bought the item, and of course 2 days later the website was gone, no sign of the item, and couldn't get in contact with the company. And yeah, $100 down later. And of course he didn't buy it with a credit card, so he couldn't try and get it back. But yeah, that's just some of the risks that there is online.
Thank you so much for giving us this valuable information. I'm hoping this won't be our only chat on this sort of stuff. And I know that you're building a course.
Yes.
So would you like to tell people where they can find you? And hopefully they'll follow your page, but as soon as your course is ready, I'll be sharing it all over my social media too, because I just want to empower parents. You know, the internet's not going away. It's not about I don't want to scare people. We have to empower them with education. Exactly. It's my big thing.
And that's what I'm passionate about, is that it is quite a scary topic, and it's the big dark unknown. But as I say, if you put some basic things in place, then you're trying your best to protect yourself. You know, we can never ever fully protect ourselves, same as we can never fully protect our house from a robber, or our car from being vandalized or whatever, but we at least,
or our child from abuse.
Exactly, yes. But we can at least put measures in place to try and prevent it. So I have creating a few online courses at the moment. One of them is geared towards the general public, and it's just to increase your basic awareness on things you need to look out for. It's an ever-changing subject, to be honest. It's hard to keep up to date with everything, so it will be a course that will be kept up to date pretty regularly. So you can find it through my website, CAIT.com.au, or you can find me on Facebook, CAIT Business Consulting. And the other course that I am working on as well is geared towards more business owners and leaders within business, or businesses that have staff that use systems. So what things they need to look out for, because obviously businesses have different types of risks than what you do when you're working from home. And I look at things like GDPR and the Notable Data Breach Act, which goes into like, you know, the privacy law here in Australia and what your obligations are as a business. And it's quite an interesting area as well, because a lot of businesses don't realize that, you know, most of us do come under those legislations.
Yes, yeah. I know we had somebody look at ours.
Yeah.
Because we're a bit lax about that here in Australia, but I've got friends in the UK.
Yeah.
And she's onto it so strongly. She actually trains in it now because, we are a bit lax about that.
Yeah, we are. So hopefully my courses will be available in the next couple of weeks, and it will be just then continuing to keep them up to date and sharing as I learn new stuff. I'm studying a master's in the area at the moment as well, so for me it's just bringing my skills and knowledge over the past 20 years and making it more easy and digestible to everybody. So yeah, that's what I'm at the moment.
Caitriona, thank you for your time. It's been invaluable. I've picked up some things that I'll have to do. But I hope parents follow your page, but also think about the risks both for them and their children, because especially at the moment we're all on social media so much more.
Yeah.
And things can go very pear-shaped very fast. So thank you.
Not a problem. Thanks very much for having me, Holly Ann, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.